Timber appraising is when we go out to an area, we look at the trees that are still standing on the stump, and we get an idea how much volume that tree is taking up, and then we convert that into a cord or a board foot measurement. We have a set price that we can add to that cord or board foot volume. This stand was part of an inventory that was done a long time ago on a 10-year exam list that a Department of Natural Resource comes up with, and then it's assigned an exam year, and from there it gets distributed out to different foresters to look at to appraise. So it goes through a whole review process to make sure that this piece of land is ready for a timber harvest. And once that happens, the forester goes out on site and they determine whether it actually needs a harvest or not. This is a 75-year-old pine plantation, and the rotation age for pine on a plantation is 70 years old. So it's ready to be harvested and regenerated to new, younger pine.
One of the first steps in timber appraising is determining how many trees are in the plot. He picks a place to stand, and while moving in a circle, he looks through a glass prism and determines how many trees he can see in it. The prism is used to determine basal area and volume. Since most trees in the area are the same age, they have all grown the same size. He picks a tree to measure as a representative of the area. He measures the diameter, and then he uses a clinometer, which measures angles, to get a height.
I look for how straight the wood is, how much taper there is there any major crooks in that timber, is it fork topped, is there dead parts of that timber, is there scars at the base that may diminish that value. And it also depends on tree species. Probably our two most prized species in at least this part of the state is aspen and red pine, and so these are fairly high value trees. We also look at the size of the tree. The bigger the tree, typically the bigger the value. We have a registration process that loggers and sawmills and different entities can become registered through the state, and they can bid on timber. And we hold two types of auctions: oral auctions, where a forester sits in front and orally auctioneers off the tracts of land. And then we also have something called a sealed bid auction. We send out the tracts of land that are for sale to the different loggers, and they put a bid percentage on how much they think they can bid on that tract of land and still make some money. Once these trees are harvested, this will probably be a summer harvest. We do that to knock down the brush as much as possible, and then after it's harvested, the next fall or spring, depending on the time frame, we'll come back in with a piece of equipment. We call it scarify the ground, and that'll either be a disc trench or a bracky, and it'll come in and it'll rip the roots out of the brush, because that's the main competition for the trees, and it'll make rows for so that we can get a contract crew to come in, and we'll replant this to red pine and jack pine. And after that, we come out and we do a monitor every year to make sure they're growing well, and if they need more extra help, we can do some release for those tree species. And then we typically, because of the deer population, we'll bud cap or plant skid those trees to help protect them through the winter time.